You're listening to Creative Campfire, where creatives like you come to talk shop, share stories, and light the path for one another. Whether you're here to learn, grow, or just feel a little less alone, welcome to the fire. Welcome back to the fire, everyone. I am so excited to have Phoebe Nelson of Pandr Designs with us today. If you don't know her work, you are missing out. I mean, if you love color and you like graphic design and big, bold statements on the side of buildings, then you have to check out her amazing work. She's a muralist and a graphic designer by trade. She's based in San Diego. She has painted over 200 murals, some of those being five-figure jobs. And we're going to dig into her backstory, but some little fun nuggets to kick us off. Phoebe, one, I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
And just to get you warmed up into this conversation, we're going to do a little kind of quick fire. Is that okay with you?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. So I know from reading about you online that you love seafood. So if you had to choose, would you pick tuna or salmon?
Probably tuna if I'm out and about, but salmon's like easier to just pick up from the grocery store and cook at home.
Good answer. All right. Overalls or jumpsuit?
Oh, I have to say jumpsuit. I'm such a jumpsuit girl.
All right. I know these are some of your favorite colors, at least from what I see you wear in your Instagram. Is it pink, green, or burnt orange?
I think green, actually. Yeah.
And then what is your favorite vacation spot you've been in the last 2 years?
Just top of mind, Puerto Escondido in Mexico.
Just south of the border for you.
Yeah, not too far. It's so beautiful.
What made it a great spot that you're like, I wish I was there now?
Well, I had been as a kid, so it was kind of fun going back as an adult and like seeing it through adult eyes and like, you're like, do I remember this or do I just see it from photos? But yeah, it's this ultimate surfy beach town and people are just walking around barefoot at the bars and restaurants and just very chill. And so, yeah, I guess when I want to go on vacation, I want to relax because my job is so chaotic and busy. So yeah, I felt very relaxed and it's just a really beautiful setting.
Sounds amazing. I think I need to book my vacation there now.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of your work, because it is very physical, or it can be, right? If you have to like climb ladders or go up on forklifts and things like that. Tell us a little bit about your background as a graphic designer and how that transitioned into becoming a full-time muralist.
Yeah. So I worked in-house for like 2.5 years. I didn't make it long in corporate world. And from age 23 to 20, yeah, like I think I quit right before my 26th birthday. So yeah, was really struggling there. Those 3 years in corporate world, like a young, a young 20-something-year-old. But yeah, I was working on the computer all the time, in front of the computer. Missed working with my hands. I went to traditional art school where you have the drawing and painting classes. And so I had that background and was doing a lot of lettering on the side and posting that to Instagram. So niche within a niche was into hand lettering, which is a whole world in itself. But yeah, posting a lot of that on Instagram outside of my full-time job and like racking up my Instagram following and connecting with other like-minded individuals. Started a lettering club here in San Diego, as one does. And through that, it gave me the confidence to do more and more freelance work because that's what everyone else was talking about, like having their full-time job and then they do freelance at night or on the weekends. And was getting a little stuck at my job. I started seeing like, okay, there's not really too much upward mobility. And also just being young and not having too much risk. Like I didn't have a mortgage, don't have kids. My rent was like $600 a month at the time, which is insane for San Diego. I was in like a kind of sorority house situation though, like me and three other girls. And so yeah, the stakes were low, so took the plunge. I wish I could like go back and look at what my bank account was. Like I don't really know because I was like, yeah, if I was doing a lot of chalkboards at the time too, like just chalkboards for Red Bull. They would drop them off at my house and I would um do the drink specials and then they would pick them up for me. And I think I got like $75 a chalkboard or something. But I don't know why I thought that would
Pay your rent.
suffice and pay my rent. And I guess it did. I don't know. I don't know. But that was the transition. So not very well thought out or anything, but it was more just like, if it doesn't work out, I'll go get
Another
another
job.
job as a graphic designer.
I think one of the things though, which is it probably played into it, is the whole idea of risk, right? Like you were saying,
Hmm.
the stakes were pretty low. You didn't have kids, you weren't caring for other adults, or if you did
Right.
have loans, they were low. And I got
Right.
I got this chalkboard business. Like this is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. No, I definitely had privilege there too. Like I thankfully didn't have student loans, didn't have a car payment. Yeah, so I was very privileged and could make that leap. But I also do, looking back, I do have this pattern of taking risks, which is kind of funny because growing up, I don't think I was like scared of everything. But in college, I moved to Nantucket. I grew up in Philadelphia and I moved to Nantucket in the summers to be a lifeguard, and I didn't know anyone. And I just moved up there and did that. And I remember going out to the bars by myself the first couple times, which is so scary as a 21-year-old. I think I just turned 21. So I was like, oh, well, this is how I'm going to meet people, just going to a bar by myself. But I ended up doing it 3 summers in a row and loved it. And then I moved to California without ever being here too. So like just moved across the country, not knowing anyone, not having been here. So I do that a lot, I guess.
I think jumping into something of the unknown, especially when you're in your 20s, is kind of like, well, I'll figure it out. I'll wing it and figure it out.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so you land in San Diego. Was that when you started to move more into the mural side of things, or were you still kind of doing a little bit of graphic design freelance and then figuring
Yeah.
out like how to get jobs in like other artistic ways?
Yeah. So I graduated college in 2013, May of 2013, August 2013, accepted a position in San Diego. Um, I think I moved like 2 weeks later, got on a plane. I shipped my car out here. So I never even I haven't done the whole cross country trek, but moved out here. And then I think I had 2 days and started my job 2 days after flying here. And lasted at that first job. It was in-house graphic design job, 8 months. Didn't like that company. Luckily, got picked up by another company. Uh, all within the cycling industry, as you kind of mentioned. First, I was designing kits for women's cycle wear and like the catalogs and hang tags and stuff, and then switched to Electra, which was beach cruisers is more of their thing. And I mean, they do everything now. They're owned by Trek, but uh, was doing like helmet design, bell design, socks, t-shirts. They had like a lot of accessories, but the most exciting being the fashion cruisers. I don't know if they still make these, but because they were a very high ticket item, but like the fashion cruisers were ones that had like really funky fenders and like were basically, like pinstriping and crazy like intricate designs that we got to print out on paper and then like mold it to the bike and test it out first and go back and forth manufacturers to see, get it to the point that we want it to. But the mural thing came in, I think, just because was drawing and doing chalkboards and outside of work, and yeah, just being on the computer all the time. I like wanted to do more hand done stuff, and I don't know if I saw a few of my peers painting murals on Instagram or what, but like I was like, oh, that's like something the next thing I want to try. Like I had done a big chalkboard mural, like you could re change it out whenever you want, but like something more permanent. And then so there was a lot of cities at least in Southern California, and I think around the country now offer these electoral box programs where they'll
Hmm.
offer a small stipend of, I believe ours was like $500 to paint the electoral box, beautify it because it's this ugly thing otherwise eyesore on the street. And so that was like my first, you know, dipping my toes into that realm, painted an electrical box over like 2 weekends. And then it was like, all right, now we can do a wall. And I had a roommate at the time in my sorority house that also worked with Red Bull. That's like the Red Bull is like the thread throughout this. Um, she said, "Oh, our office wants a mural," because I had said I was like looking to do one. And so like very low stakes. That was like the first official mural. And I told the story a few times, but yeah, it only charged like $700. And that mural took a lot of hours. So, and it was three of us painting it. So by the time we were done, I think we, made nothing.
Right. You paid
But
them.
yeah, we paid them to do our first mural, but it was like it turned out really nice, and I think it still exists. I don't know. And yeah, just really lit the fire that is now my business.
So from those humble beginnings, how did you start to really get the word out? Like, I do this. You can hire me to do this work.
Yeah. Yeah. So mostly social media. I didn't have any like SEO strategy or email marketing strategy or any of these things you hear about now. Yeah, it started with Instagram, and it's still a lot of it is Instagram. That's where a lot of my clients find me still.
I think it's interesting because sometimes we just overcomplicate it, right? Like we
Yeah.
overcomplicate the fact that like we have to be everywhere, we have to be seen everywhere, you have to like have this
hmm
multi-tiered marketing plan, you have to show up at all of these meetings and be all of these places, and sometimes
Yeah.
it's just continuing to show up in the platform that you've been showing up at, right? Where
Right.
you had said like I started a hand lettering club like in San Diego, and I'm sure
Yeah.
through that network, right, if other people needed people to support them, that you would be like, oh,
hmm
I can come and paint for you, and vice versa, right? Now you have this like crew of people that you know their strengths, you know their talents, you can kind of cross pollinate, if you will, in a very
Totally.
natural way.
Totally. Yeah. Like handing off jobs to each other, like I'm not the best fit for this, but here's this person. It's always nice to have people to pass off projects that you're not able to take on.
Oh, for sure. And I think that was like a serendipitous thing, right? You didn't know that you needed that until probably much later, where you were like, oh, I already have this community of people. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so not running a business to running a business. What were some of those really early learnings? Like if you were like, oh man, if I would have known that, at year 2 instead of 7, that would have been really
hmm
helpful.
Yeah. I mean, I did a lot of dumb stuff. There wasn't as many resources out there, which is like why I've tried to build them up so much, so that people don't have to go through the pain that I went through. But yeah, like just doing dumb stuff, designing before having a contract signed or a deposit paid, just getting so excited. You're like, oh, I'm just going to start the design. And the job falls through. And then you wasted time, like 2 hours designing something that doesn't exist. So that being really frustrating, or, I mean, I was a young woman, like just letting men like mansplain the shit out of me, and thinking because a lot of like just believing that their authority and they know better, and that's not the case. So now I'm a seasoned 35-year-old. I know like I can see through the bullshit, and I'm like, I don't care if you're a 70-year-old man, like you don't know murals. I know murals. Because a lot of them, I mean, women too can do this, but like I see a lot of sexism in the field, and just in business. Like a lot of the people who hire me are men, and like just having to talk to them differently. It's been a learning curve for sure. But yeah, wishing I trusted my gut early on and when I was in my early 20s would have saved me a lot of heartache. Um, and knowing that you're the expert, like what I was getting at is like, you're the mural painter. They're not. They don't know the process, but like a lot of people will try to tell you like, no, this is how it works. And you're like, no, I've been doing this longer than you. Like you're not a mural artist. This is how it works. Um, I'm swirling that answer into a couple different directions, but what else? Yeah, doing site visits, like wasting a lot of time, which is like specific to mural painting, but like, and I know this is controversial. A lot of artists will probably say no, I find value in a site visit, but like I've driven to so many jobs and walked around with the client, looked around at the walls for an hour or two, had drinks with them after even, and nothing happens. And you're like, wow, I just wasted so much time. And some people might see that, well, that's just, starting the relationship, planting the seeds, like maybe they'll come back later. Nope. They've none of those jobs did like, and I seriously can tell you, like I went and had like full on dinner and cocktails with this couple that I thought was like for sure hiring me for a big job, and it fell through. So you just feel used after that. And so I'm done with the site visits. So rarely do I see the wall before I'm actually painting it. And especially because I travel for so many projects, like I'm not flying to Philadelphia to look at a wall, flying back to San Diego, and then flying there again to paint it. Yeah, I don't do that. So that's what Zoom's for. That's what FaceTiming is for. And we can look at it through that way.
Well, like you said, I think a lot of it is just trial and error, right? Like you did those things, then you were like, yeah, I don't actually have to do that. Like I don't have to be
Mm-hmm.
on site to physically see and touch the wall. Like you could take a picture of it and put a ruler in it and I'll get a sense for how big it is.
Yes.
You can walk around with a phone and I could understand like the texture of it or the material that it's made out of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the sexism thing is probably something that it's a continual learning. And I see it on every front of the
Yeah.
creative spectrum, especially in creative. I saw it also in finance when I worked in finance and I worked in pro sports, and I can't, you can only
Yeah.
imagine. But I'm curious
Very.
for those like coming into a situation where no matter who it is that is basically trying to make you small, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to make you small. They're trying to be the authoritative figure. Do you have kind of a way that you work or that you kind of tap into something that allows you to be like, okay, I'm centered in this moment. I'm going to be the expert here, basically like plant
Mm-hmm.
my feet and tell you what I have to
Mm-hmm.
say. Like any tips for those out there that struggle with that?
Yes. I mean, at the end of the day, professionalism first. So, we're not getting in anyone's faces. I'm not yelling at anyone, not raising my voice. It's usually happening on the other end. Well, hopefully not, but um, it's all just top of mind because something like this happened to me last week where um, a male client tried to make me feel not good enough and like tell me that I was doing the job wrong. And yeah, I was proud of myself that I was able to go to that place of calm, and I wanted to rip his
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 head off.
throat out, but I was able to, I guess, like, yeah, he was being out of line, so I was able to check him in that I was staying so calm, and I said, I'm a little confused why you're speaking to me that way. We're both adults. We're on the same team. We're both trying to get this project completed successfully. So, you know what? Like, let's work together, teamwork. And then he kind of felt stupid. So, because he realized, oh, yeah, this woman does know what she's doing and it's going to be fine. Because I said at the end of the day, this is paint. There's no reason why you should be freaking out so hard over something that like can easily be changed. It was an issue over what color blue I was going to be using. So yeah, like then I'm like, it's not heart surgery. We're not saving lives. Why is someone raising their voice like that to me? But um yeah, after I hung up the phone, it was over the phone. I did break out into tears, but I was able to keep myself composed on the phone with this
Yeah.
person. And yeah, I think it's just practice. But as I said, knowing like this none of this is a big deal. It's fine. It's paint.
And I think that is a really great touchstone. I mean, going back to my early days, like to your point of like, this is not life or death. I used to work at
Mhm.
UCSF and I worked in the intramural department, and our gym was literally across the street from the emergency room where the doctors
Wow.
that would play in the intramural sport,
Yeah.
right? So they would be in there, they might be playing basketball at lunchtime or whatever. And I remember like some guy coming down like an elbow on the nose, literally broke this dude's nose. And everyone's like freaking
No.
out. And I was like, guys, it's totally cool. We just put him in the wheelchair and we send him across the street. He's fine. This is not where life and death happens in the gym. That's across the street. Uh,
Yeah.
and so I very often go back to those days of like, yeah, I don't work in life and death. Like that is across the street. That's not my realm.
Hmm.
And so I think
Hmm.
it's good when you can find that moment of like you said, it's just paint. If we don't like the blue, we just paint over it. We just find a
Let's
different blue.
touch grass. Yeah.
Yeah,
Everyone just touch some grass.
yeah. Like just big, like deep moment, like breathe. It's all right. And the other thing you brought up was contracts, all the lessons of contracts. So I'm curious, over the years, has your contract, have you started to add different things in as you learn these different things? Like I won't do a site visit, or maybe I will do a site visit once you sign the contract and give me a deposit.
Hmm.
Or like the designing stuff, right? Like I'm not going to design before you sign. Ooh,
Right.
catchphrase there.
Yeah.
Um, but how did that contract come to be? How has it evolved over the years?
Yeah, exactly all of those things. Like every time something would go wrong, you add a clause in that covers your ass for the next time. So yeah, also just working with different lawyers and shout out to Trust the Law, my current team. They specialize in intellectual property. So that's kind of where it's evolved to. It's like nothing really, knock on wood, changes per project now. Like it's all pretty set in stone. But like if I have any issues at this point in my career, it's all based on IP, like the client using the artwork, which is a big learning. Uh, we a lot of education has to happen for the client. Like just because I paint the mural for you doesn't mean you own the artwork and can do whatever you want with it now. So that's usually where like issues, even though it's clearly spelled out in the contract, but people like to take the design and make merch with it without your permission, is what usually ends up happening. Um, but yeah, early on, like what else? Yeah, I'm trying to think of other issues.
Well, let's talk about
Yeah,
IP for
like
a minute, because like you
yeah,
touched on a
yeah.
big one here. And I think for creatives across the board, right? Whether you're a traditional like fine art painter, you're a photographer, you're a sculptor, you're a graphic designer,
Hmm.
muralist, your work that you create is your IP, right? It is
Hmm.
your intellectual property. And I think it's really like I really want to like pound this into people's heads, like what you just
Yep.
said about you make this and you paint the physical mural. So in
Yes.
my head, I'm like, well, it's on a wall. Like, how are we going to take that and make merch?
Hmm.
But I suppose you have to get sign off before you paint the mural, which is like a digital copy.
Yes. And so that's typically what they're taking. And so whether you watermark that or you just provide, usually I'm just providing the mock-up already on the wall, like not just the flat art. So that can help you. But yeah, having that section of your contract like bold, because people, even though they sign the contracts, they don't typically read them.
And so if it is somebody who, let's just err on, you have a very smart client and they've read the
Hmm.
contract and they are aware, right? I realize this is minority and not the majority. And this happens especially when nothing to shame small businesses, but like when you're a small
Right,
business and you've maybe never done this before,
right.
especially like from a photography side, it's very true. Like
Yeah.
they will use outside of the license agreement. Um,
Yes.
but like, what is that education? Like, how does that conversation look from like your
Hmm.
perspective to them? Especially if they have gone outside of, if they have colored outside the lines.
Yes. Yeah. So I I am forgiving for smaller. It just depends on the business too. Like, are they really making millions of dollars off of this t-shirt design? Probably not. So some things I will, like, admittedly, I'll let slide. Um, my lawyer would be like, tisk tisk, that's bad. But you know, yeah, it's really just like being educating them about, like, if you're creating merchandise that you're then selling, you're benefiting off of that, and I need to be
Compensated.
compensated additionally. So, setting up what that licensing fee is, $1,000 for an additional year to 3 years that you can print it on stickers, t-shirts, blah, blah, blah. Or do you want to charge more? Because then if they're franchising and they want to print the mural um, at multiple locations, like that's getting even more eyes on it. So it's really the amount of visibility and uh, how it's benefiting their business. Like if they're just printing buttons that they're going to hand out for free at the next farmers market, who cares? But also the issue is like setting that design up so that it's being printed and doesn't look pixelated as shit and looks nice because typically, like, yeah, the design that you're presenting isn't made for print. But clients don't realize that. So there is, like, I have to educate them too, like, in this additional fee that you're paying me, I'll set the file up correctly vectorized so that it can be scaled and printed to different sizes, and as I just said, won't look like crap when you print it.
When you go from a button to a wall cling.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's a really interesting distinction, one around what is it being used for, deciding like on the
Hmm.
company, because you might decide like, this is a small business and you might have that discussion with them up front. And then your clause might be a little bit different for them based on the discussion that you have versus,
Hmm.
it's a Fortune 500 company and, or, it's a national chain restaurant, and they're going to use it everywhere in their
Yeah,
advertising. All their national spots are going to have a piece of your mural in it.
right. And I've talked about this with some of my muralist friends too. Like, uh, for some reason, sometimes when you work with these larger companies, it's just a formality for them that they want to own the artwork outright. They're not planning on doing anything with it, but for whatever reason, they need to own the full copyright. So you do need to charge them for that, even though it feels weird, like, they're not going to use it, but like if they can afford to, like, you need to charge them. 'Cause yes, that's happened to me a few times. And like I've talked about this, it's usually labeled as work for hire in the contracts. This is when they're sending you their contract. Well, tell artists, like, we have our own contracts for dedicated to murals, but like a lot of times when you work with these larger businesses, they force you to use their contract. Their legal team is gonna make you use theirs. And if it has work for hire in it, work for hire means like you're basically an employee. You're treated like all the sketches, all the reject designs, those are all their property. So charge accordingly.
Now, do you ever push back on that when
Yeah,
saying
no, it,
like there's no need for this, or are you going to pay
mhm.
into my 401k while I work for you?
Yeah. Yeah, everything's a negotiation, so it never hurts to ask. And same with insurance because they'll require sometimes really crazy um liability insurance requirements for stepping onto their property. And that's when you have the conversation like, hey, I'm a one-woman business. I'm only going to be on your property for 2 days. There isn't a need for me to have $10 million of liability insurance. If you're going to insist on that, I'm going to need help paying for my new insurance
Policy.
coverage because it's going to up my monthly rate, X amount.
Do you ever bake that into like your estimate, where like if that
Well,
was the
yeah.
case?
Well, that's when it's all coming together. Like if that comes up, then you can definitely like negotiate with them on that price. Like yeah, like this conversation actually happened with the Phillies when I was painting in their stadium. And because this stadiums, they just have this like blanket coverage that their vendors are required to have, and they're not used to like
A small
one-off
business.
artists coming in. Yeah, yeah, small business, little pipsqueaks coming in. So um that's where that conversation had, and they were like, oh yeah, here, you can just use your existing policy, which is, I think, I don't know what I had back then, but I probably like up to 2 million in damage, which is should be more than enough.
Enough. Yeah. Yeah, I remember there was a studio that I rented for a commercial job in San Francisco, and I read through her terms, right, of like what you needed, and
Hmm.
there was this kind of there was like an insurance policy that you had to have, and it was way more than what I had. So I went out to
Yeah,
my insurance company, like I didn't even think to ask her at the time. I don't know why. Like now,
yeah,
of course I would ask her now, but at the time I was
yeah.
like it was my first big like commercial job, and I was like, okay, like I got to go have this thing, and I went and I did it, and I paid all this money, and then I turned in the paperwork with all the proof, and she's like, oh well, what's this form? And I was like, this is for that insurance that like it says in your T&Cs that you wanted. Like I paid all this money for it. And she's like, oh, no one's ever turned this form into me.
Oh,
And I was like, and then I felt like the idiot, right? Like, oh, I should have asked. And then she was like, oh, well, thanks. And I was like, well, maybe you should update your contract. Like, if you don't really need that, like, why is that in here?
yeah, like she just thought she needed that situation. I mean, I guess it never hurts to have more insurance, but that's sucks for you that you had to go through that.
Yeah. And I mean, it was like, it was, it was like for that one job, I had that one thing. And then it was basically like a coverage for that week that I was doing that job.
Right.
So, yeah. But it's like, it's those learned lessons of like, right, just ask.
Hmm.
Like you could go
Yeah,
and say, like, do you
everything's a
really need this?
negotiation.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, no, it's all negotiation.
So as you've been on this wild ride for about a decade,
Hmm.
what are some of the things you talk? There's been, I don't even know, numerous posts that you've done around the starving artist myth. So let's like
Yes.
jump into that juicy topic, right?
Hmm.
This idea that if we're going to be artists, we're bound to struggle. We're bound to like cling on and just take whatever you give us. Um, and I want to know, how are you like turning the tide on that? Right? What is, I mean, obviously, like I'm on that soapbox with you too. Like, but at the same time, I'm
Yes.
like, I want to know what Phoebe is yelling from that soapbox.
Yes. Well, yeah, it's a constant struggle of just like from both sides, like making artists have the confidence because we've been taught this for so long. And so you've it's been ingrained in us that like, oh, we should be happy enough, like we're doing what we love. That's enough, we don't deserve to be paid. But then also from the client side, uh educating them and knowing that like they shouldn't take advantage of artists and artists are worth the same side. So what am I screaming from the rooftops? Yeah, like just stop doing work for free, even though you think it's a good opportunity and you think there's room for exposure there. Like exposure doesn't pay the bills. Unfortunately, those projects don't even end up leading to anything. Like been there, done that. It doesn't end up actually. It's same as the site visit. Like just stop wasting your time and effort on stuff that's like not guaranteed. And yes, and then educating the client on the other hand too, like that they shouldn't be asking for this free work and pay artists. It's yeah, you want to bang your head against the wall, but I hope that us talking about it more, it's going to be changing things slowly but surely.
So let's talk about the exposure conversation for a minute, right? And there's kind of two camps. maybe there might be more, but for the most part, I see two camps that are out there that are kind of like, well, I'm maybe really early on and I just want the figure out the rhythm and like get the chance to go out and like practice and see what it takes to do the thing. And I don't feel like I should be charging them for my skill set at this point in time. And then there's people who are like, well, you know, it's a fun project, or I know so and so, or I believe in that organization. I'm just going to go do it for them. Right. Both of these are like the free conversation. Yeah. And if those are the conversations that are out there, let's just take those two as the example. What would you say to those two very different people in those scenarios when it comes to like, you know, charge, don't charge, or maybe there's an intangible in there that you're getting paid? Like, what is the conversation with like the one that's like trying to figure out how to do it, and then the one that's like giving it away for the person they know or the charity they know or the cause that they love?
Just thinking like, first thing I do is smack them across the face. Wake up, get over it. No, don't do it. But professional Phoebe, and as I've gotten older, I'm like, no, you need to be respectful and talk to people. Don't get angry. But yeah, it's hard. I totally see where both of them are coming from, but I also see it as an incredible, again, being privileged, you know, that you can afford to do free work. So yeah. Grasping my thoughts. I want most people, if they're going to do free work, do it for an organization they really care about, a school that's in need, something like that, versus like a for-profit company. It's like a lot of these like art design contests. The Phillies, bringing them up again, they've had one. It drives me nuts when these businesses that bring in like so much money are asking for free work, and then like people are like, oh, but I just love the Phillies so much, so like it's just fun for me. I don't care, like, but they're not the ones that are deserving of free work. Like, it should be the animal shelter that you're, you know, really caring about, or again like this like underprivileged school. Because yeah, doing free work is a privilege. Like, the fact that like you can just say you have a full-time job and you're just doing this for fun on the weekends, that's taking away from potential money from artists that could be getting paid for that. So like I just tell people, like, you're shooting yourself in the foot for future paid work, when if every business thinks that they can just get free work from amazing artists, then there's no reason for them to pay for that later on. So don't think about it like less about just for you, like you're hurting other artists as well. It's hurting the whole community, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it totally makes sense. I also see it from a standpoint of like if we get to brass tacks, right? It's costing you money to go out there and do it. Right. So you still have to buy the supplies. You still have to, in most cases, drive there. Right. So it's costing you time and wear and tear on your car and a whole lot of suntan lotion, right? To be out there and, you know, bear the elements when you're painting. But I'm like, there's a cost there. There's a physical cost there. And so to me, I'm like, don't you want to at least cover your costs, or at least tell them like to your point, like if you're doing it for a cause that you love, you could say to them like, hey, I'm willing to donate my time or my talent to this project. It costs X dollars. Right. And you could still give them an invoice that basically is zeroed out, so that if someone there knows someone else and passes your name around, they now have an idea of actually what it costs that you did for them. I think on the flip side, for the one that's like maybe underskilled or trying to up level, it's an opportunity for you to do work that you're passionate about on your own time, in your own space, you know, and maybe not give that away, like you said, to like a for-profit company,
a paying business.
Yeah.
Do one for your friend, your family, like in their home, like everyone always asks me, like, where do you get mural experience from? Like I painted uh in my own apartment, even though I didn't own, I just painted it white over before I moved out. My landlord didn't know the electrical box programs. And yeah, for the like donate to these nonprofits that you care about. And I mean, be careful about the word nonprofit because like IKEA is a nonprofit, like like but so yeah, just organizations that you know are in need and that you'll have creative freedom to still do what you want because you want it to be a portfolio piece. You don't want to donate work that you're not going to be proud to share in your portfolio if that's the whole point is you getting more experience.
So if we move away from free and now
Hmm.
people want to get paid, right? They're like, I want to make this into a business. I want to see if I can get this to grow. Is there kind of a tier? Did you go through like a tier thing as you like grew your skill and grew your piece to like where, how you price today? Or do you think
Yeah.
everybody should start at like a certain like methodology?
Yeah, I kind of preach the square footage or square meter rate and having a minimum of I believe in I have a free pricing guide on my site. I believe I have like I want people to charging a minimum of 1,000 US dollars. Um, so minimums come into play because yeah, just because something's like 1 by 1 square foot doesn't mean, oh, it's easier and that's not going to take you any time. Usually the smaller stuff is more detailed and a lot of work and time. So that's where minimums come in. And knowing that like what you just talked about, like the travel time, the supplies, like all of that would somewhat cover you in having a minimum.
I like that idea of, there's a minimum one. You mentioned like the design time, right? Like all that design back and
Mhm.
forth time, all the admin stuff, working out the contract and negotiation.
Right,
Like that's all time that you've got to account for. It's not just on site painting time.
right.
So, what would you say has been your biggest financial mistake in the last 2 to 3 years?
Uh, Thankfully, I haven't screwed myself over too badly. Um, I've been experimenting a lot in that like pushing what's possible and where Pandr's going and the kind of projects I take on. So yeah, I've been more experimental and not everything is cut and dry like big mural equals big profit. So my revenue is down from like the last couple years or the trajectory I was on, but I'm also just making different moves. I took on an RFP project this year, which is like is exciting because I've applied to many of those over the years. And for people who don't know what that is, like a request for proposal, it's like what a lot of government entities and organizations will put out when they're like looking like a call for artists. But be wary again of them, like people asking for design work up front. So this was an RFP or an RFQ is when they're just like asking for your qualifications and like your resume. And then if they like you, you move on and they'll pay you. So you're not doing any design work up front. Anyways, this one was kind of open-ended and it ended up being a vinyl design and which I typically, yeah, I don't do those services. Like I don't install, I hand that off to a third party and they install that for me. But I'm not used to me being in charge of that aspect. Like I have the client be in charge of that. And so in with budgeting, it's a different the expenses are different than a mural because the paint, cost me basically nothing, but vinyl services like having that come out of my pocket was a lot. So yeah, financial mistake, like not so much a mistake, but just like a learning curve of like how expensive that can be. And I'm like, oh, I'm not profiting as much as I typically would.
Yeah, moving into a new medium that you're not, doing all the time in a different way, it
Right.
sounds like.
Right. Which is nice because like I'm getting to see my artwork in places that I wouldn't typically get to. And it like final offers like options for public art where like, yeah, you can't literally can't hand paint it. You can't do it. So yeah, just pushing the boundaries, which is exciting.
That is exciting. What do you think are some of the smart financial moves you've made?
In the last, we're still doing 3 years.
Sure.
Well, I bought a house, and so
Oh,
I want to
wow.
say that that's a financial positive. Yeah, like in starving artist land, it's a big win. And I didn't know it at the time, but pretty cool that I bought at a very low interest rate time. So, um, yeah, I was very lucky there, and it's in San Diego, so I'm thinking like that's a good investment because
Yeah.
it's not getting
Not getting
like
any
property
cheaper in
value's
San
not going
Diego.
down over. Yeah, yeah. So that was pretty huge for sure.
I would say that's a big win. Was that something that you were saving towards, like knowing that's what you wanted to do? Or was it like you were like, oh, I might be able to afford a house. Like maybe I'll start looking around.
Yeah, yeah, this was 2021, and my husband and I were renting. Actually, we weren't married at the time, so wow, we moved in together before marriage. But yeah, we were renting at the time and thinking like because we both kind of worked from home and we were essentially in a one bedroom apartment and we were like, okay, this is
Oh.
getting a little tight, but we're saving so much money. So we were like looking around to where we would move to rent again, and then interest rates at the time were just so low. We are like, wait, does this make sense to buy? And it all, yeah, it did happen very fast. Like it wasn't like, we'd been saving up for our dream home and yada yada. But yeah, it all happened fast and worked out in our favor.
That's amazing. I mean, that's amazing. Those stories are far and few between where it's like, oh, we
hmm
actually have the cash like available to do a down payment that the interest, like all the stars aligned. And then you
Yes,
found the
yes.
house that you could actually like afford to put a bid in and they accepted you.
Yeah, yeah. And that we're both artists. Like he's a motion graphics designer, so it feels pretty cool being two artists living. And I think like, yeah, our neighbors were like, who are these two?
Yeah, these guys are kind of artsy. I don't know about these two. Um, I think I think it's very cool. It's a big asset, right? Like a lot of people really want to own their home for various different
hmm
reasons. There's also reasons to own, there's reasons to rent. Um,
Yes.
so is there been any like big surprises since you bought, it's now been almost 4 years or you're in your fourth year. Has there been any
hmm
surprises to home ownership that you were like, oh, I didn't realize?
Mm. I mean, when we first moved in, we had a big plumbing issue, and we're like, wow, that's a fun surprise to learn about your home that they, supposedly disclose all this stuff. And yeah, it was like a very expensive fix. So yeah, you need plumbing. Can't get around that. So that was brutal. And then but like thankfully like nothing else was really truly like wrong with it. It was flipped. So like most of the stuff was done for us, ready to move in. Um San Diego, like they're making you pay for trash now. So which I guess is good because it'll make people be hopefully less wasteful. But I don't know how that's going to be handled with renters, but yeah, like that's a new cost that you have to think about. Um, but like not like it's all non-sexy stuff. Like this is
Well,
yeah,
yeah. I
this
mean, this is the stuff
yeah.
that when I talk about home ownership to people, like, I really want to own my home. I'm like, you realize something breaks, you have to fix it, right?
Yeah.
You don't get to call somebody. You have to fix it. If like if your property tax goes up, you pay
hmm
that. You're not like it doesn't just get passed down to you from the landlord. Like you pay
Yeah.
that. If your HOA goes up, you pay that.
Right.
You pay
Right.
sewer and water and trash. Um,
Yeah.
if you have a yard, like you need to maintain your yard. And that's like
hmm
time or money, like if you hire somebody. So there's like things that are sometimes the quote unquote hidden costs that sometimes
Right.
you are shielded from when you're a renter for so long, or if you grew up in a household where like you didn't have to pay attention to those things. That I've had
hmm
several friends who like, oh, I really want to own a home and I want this plot of land, and I was like, so do you understand what you're taking? Like, do you understand what you're taking on? Uh,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, like when we first moved in, we were hiring handy people to do a lot of stuff, and but now shout out to my husband, like he has learned a lot of like the thingies
right,
that you're supposed to do.
the trades.
So yeah, he's not as nervous to do DIY it, and he's like, oh, I can do a lot of this myself. So yeah, he's very handy now, and like a lot like not we're not really hiring many. I mean, I guess if it was like electrical, like that's something you don't want to mess around with, but um yeah, he's been able to do a lot of stuff now his own, and because of the confidence he's grown. Like he just put in a what do you call it? The mini split air conditioner for one of our rooms, which was I was like, wow, I was really impressed by that. And our neighbor who's in construction like helped him a little bit, which was nice. But yeah, he did it like all himself. And that was something I learned. I was like, wow, in California, we basically are living in cardboard boxes. We do not have insulation in our walls. Or at least because mine was built in the 60s, it's like when you cut the hole through the wall, there is nothing
Nothing
in
there.
there. Like, that's literally a cardboard box that we're living in right now.
So as you start to open every wall over the years, you'll just start putting insulation in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy out here.
Well, welcome to homeownership. I think it's really awesome, and it's great that that's all aligned for you. Is there any, when it comes to like being in an artist's home, like do you guys have those kind of conversations around like what do you want to do with your money, goals, like money, like do you have money goals now that, well, this big
Yeah.
one's kind of checked off, and obviously you're saving for the rainy day when the roof
Mm-hmm.
needs to be replaced, but
Right.
is there any other things that
Yeah.
you guys think about?
Yeah. It's tough because we're both work for ourselves. And so every month is different, but nice. Like, if I'm having a down month, I can be like, can you pay more of the mortgage this month or vice versa? Or, I like, yeah, I mean, everyone structures their finances differently in relationships, but like we're relatively 50-50. Um, but yeah, we work with the same financial advisor and tax team, like they do it all for us. And so, we're contributing in September, I believe, our big 401k payment is due. So we're like, oh God, another like so like do we have enough projects coming in August? It's like all this roller coaster. But yeah, we've done a lot to the house. So we've talked about like we need to
Chip
chill
in.
out and save a little bit. Yeah, like it's always a new project. That's something with ownership. It's like it's an ever-ending project. So we're like, okay, we literally should take a break. Like stop, stop spending money. Um, and yeah, eating in more, that kind of
Eating in
stuff.
more, cooking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean,
That old thing.
I think what's cool to hear is one that you have people in your corner helping you, right? That you have
Yes.
sought out like to have financial advisors, you have like someone helping you with tax. One of my little notes is that you could go back to your financial advisors and say like, hey, instead of doing a lump sum payment in September, what if we split this over 12 months? And that way
Right.
that you're not going to have this big hit in September. Instead, you have maybe smaller hits where it's just
Yeah,
built in, where you're having like a few $100s instead of thousands of dollars come out.
totally.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, because that can really swing you one way or the other for sure. And yeah, it's this year too. It does feel slower for me this year. I don't know how many other creatives feel the same ways, but and that you've spoken with, but um at least my friends, I think we're all having like a slower 2025 than previously.
I would say majority of the folks I speak to are
Yeah.
either at a standstill.
Hmm.
Some have a little bit of a trickle. There's not many that I know that are like, oh, it's here. Like I don't think I've heard that
Yeah.
at all this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, unless there's literally like maybe one or two people I can think of where they have a very diverse portfolio of things that they do. Um,
Hmm.
and I would say that their art craft or their art skills are maybe 30% of the pie. And then it's made up
Hmm.
of other, maybe like other things, like it could be education and it could be maybe a completely different business model. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I think overall people are really slow, and in the back, like in the DMs and the one-on-one conversations, there's a lot of
Hmm.
depression, a lot of very
Yeah.
real, hard, dark conversations going on of like,
Yeah.
what do I do? How do I change this? How do I diversify? Maybe I just need time off. Like, I'm going through some big changes in my business and time right now. And so I'm like thankful that I put a lot of money away in business savings.
Yeah.
I was just
Good.
sharing this with a friend, and she's like, look, you're good. Like, I literally could pay myself an entire year and not have a project come in. So but
That's amazing.
that's 15 years of business savings. Right. So,
Yeah.
and being in a household where luckily I didn't need to contribute a lot to the finances of
Hmm.
our double life that I have to support in California and in London. So I think this is why that money conversation is really important,
Right.
whether you're on your own or if you have a partner,
Hmm.
to have those conversations, because I love that you were like, hey, things are a little slower for me this month. Like, how are things looking for you? How much do I need to sit and like, you know, knock on doors and write the emails and like call past
Hmm.
clients and look for recommendations and really work the network this month? Or can I spend more time on this new idea?
Hmm.
And then being able to have those really honest conversations in the household is really important. And knowing that like slower times come and you got to kind of save for those times, or
Yep.
putting off that home project till next month. But I think it's hard. It's hard, like especially if you didn't grow up in a household where money was freely talked about. It can be
Hmm.
really hard to emulate that in your own relationships. And that's something I've talked with friends about since I was like a little kid and all through college, like roommates. I'd be like, what do you mean like you didn't talk about money as kids? And they're like, what do you mean that you guys talked about money as kids? I'm like, oh my God. Like my dad would be like, hey, this is how you balance your checkbook. This is where all our money
That's really
goes.
cool.
Um,
That's really cool.
so like when I married basically an accountant. He does production finance for movies. So, and we met in an econ class. There you go. Right. So we're kind of number
Hell yeah.
here. So when we like talk about money, it's like, he'll be like, hey, we have to do the books. I'm like, oh, okay. And I go upstairs and
Womp
I'm like,
womp.
we do it. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, all right, well, how's things looking? And he's like, fine. And then I could sit down and I can look at our stuff and I can get an overall picture. But I realize that that relationship and that conversation is fairly rare among my friends.
It's very rare. Yeah.
And so this is a conversation that I like having, because I think opening that door to having to see what
Yeah.
other people are doing, and just you being willing to share, like, hey, we have these people that help us, and I have this conversation with my husband, and here's the things
Hmm.
that are going on from like how I price my work so that I make profit, that I could pay my business needs and that I could pay my life needs. I think is one that, the more we perpetuate that conversation, the more it's going to become the norm instead of the minority.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, what are you most excited about for the second half of the year? I mean, we just talked about like this awesome home, things are slow,
Yeah.
buzzing, but
Yeah.
is there anything coming that you're like, I'm really excited about this?
Yeah. I have yeah. Oh, it's slow, but I have a lot of projects going on. So yeah, my work schedule is
Mhm.
very crazy. I'm going all over, traveling all over, but I really enjoy it. So yeah, it's gonna be good. Exciting things coming up. I'm going to Omaha for the first time ever. And I'm painting a live thing at the zoo there,
Oh,
which apparently the Omaha Zoo is supposed to be fabulous. So learning all these new things, and like that's just such a random project, but so fun. So excited to do that. And then um before that, I'm going to Minneapolis for a project, and my husband's from Minneapolis, so we get to spend time with family and friends and go to the state fair.
oh,
Um,
amazing. That's amazing. You'd eat lots of
I got a
Elavir.
Yeah, all the things like everything fried. And I am excited for a girls' trip to Guerneville. Gonna be drinking wine and relaxing with them. And then I told you I'm going to London again. My husband has worked there every year in October, so I just crash his hotel and stay with him and get to explore. So I'm excited to be doing that too.
Wow, you have lots of travel coming. Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I live on an airplane.
I know I should have asked this earlier, but I'm curious about when you have really like when you have a big project and you do need to bring on
hmm
team and you're
Yep.
not doing it in San Diego, like how do you find the people?
Yeah, it's Instagram.
It's just
It
Instagram. You
all
just
comes
you just
back to Instagram. Yeah, that's where I find majority of people. Or like I have my go-to people and I'll be like, wait, I know she's done a project in, wherever before. Maybe she knows someone. Yeah, it's all like word of mouth and through Instagram. So Minneapolis, the woman I typically have assist me is just had a baby, so I didn't want to bug her. So I reached out to this other woman who I followed for a long time, and I need to find out her situation because she's like dual Minneapolis and San Diego. So I'm like, wait, we could like
we could fly
work
together.
together in San Diego too. Yeah. Yeah. So she's gonna help me on the Minneapolis project. And like one time I was in Houston and I had my few of my go-to women, and then we end up needing like last minute more hands to finish the mural in time, and like they reached out to their people and it was like this community effort. So yeah, it's like social media sucks, but it can provide a lot of awesome connections.
But it can do what it was designed to do, which is to keep us
Yeah,
social, right?
social.
Yeah, I mean, I do think like we meet a lot of people that way. I love that you can just source people that way.
hmm
It's like really cool. Well, I wish you all the best with all of your travel. I can't wait to see you in October when you come here.
Yeah.
And if people want to reach out and follow your amazing murals and all your cool artistry and awesome stickers, hopefully she'll do more. Where can they find you?
Pandr Design Co. Pandr on Instagram and pandrdesignco.com.
Phoebe, this has been so fun. And I so appreciate you sharing and being an open book. And I'm sure we could dive into many more topics, but we'll let you finish out this year and then we'll bring you back for your a favorite project episode.
Oh, would love that. Yeah.
That'd be
Could
really
talk to you
fun.
for hours. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I need to put the fire out for now, but the conversation doesn't have to end here. Come hang out with us on Instagram at creativecamp.pro. Drop your questions, share your thoughts, and tag us in your stories. The more people we gather around the fire, the better the conversation gets. If you'd like to support the show, you can buy us a coffee and sign up for our newsletter. Links are in the show notes below. We'll stoke the fire again real soon, but until then, keep creating, keep connecting, and I'll see you next time around the campfire.